Main speaker tonight is Darren.
Quiet and down, please. Hi, everybody. My name's Darren. I'm an alcoholic. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't know. God is good. Where's the interpreter? I want to thank John for asking me to come down and speak. Really appreciate that. Alcoholics Anonymous is the best thing that's ever happened to me by far. I want you to know I'm the worst drunk I've ever met. I can't believe I'm sober. I can't believe I'm sober and happy. Those two things don't go together, right? My sobriety date is 4/24/04. I've drank for 20 years now. I'm sober for 20 years. Now, 20 years used to be a long time, but it's not now, is it? Nobody cares. 20 years. I feel like I'm a newcomer. When I first got sober, you were an old timer if you had 20 years. Now it's nothing. My sponsor is Matt Johnson. He's got 52 years, I think, but he couldn't come down tonight. So I don't know. We're not going to give him a round of applause or nothing like that. But he's a great guy. I know a lot of you know Matt. I did not want to come to Alcoholics Anonymous. Have you seen it on the TV? How depressingly sad is it depicted on the TV? It shows like 14 bald, fat, ugly, miserable man in the corner. There's a man missing his head. He's reading the 12 traditions. It's like, oh my God, here we are. Life's about to start. So I did not want to come to Alcoholics Anonymous, just like most of you. Also, I didn't think I was an alcoholic because I don't look like an alcoholic. I have a preconceived notion of what it looks like to be an alcoholic. And for me, it's the bum on the end of the off-ramp that's got a sign and he's begging for change with an horrible big bushy beard. Not a cool bushy beard like yours. An horrible big bushy beard like that one over there. That's an alcoholic. It can't be me. I used to be a party animal. Is there any other party animals in here that used to be good at drinking and doing other stuff? Yeah. So it just makes no sense. Nobody in here could be an alcoholic because you're either too young, you're too beautiful, you're too well put together and businesslike. Well, some of you over here look like you've had a good drink, I suppose. There is that. But you don't look like an alcoholic, so it makes no sense. So I had to be absolutely cornered by King Alcohol before I was going to come to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm already suicidally depressed, so why do I need to go to AA? You're trying to finish me off quicker. But I remember it well. I was maudlin drunk. It was midnight on the mean streets of Santa Barbara. But quicksand stretched all around me. And I'd met my match. And I was being suicidal, and I was thinking of doing it all the time, planning and plotting. So I made the call to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was about midnight. I got out the yellow pages. You young'uns will have to Google that, won't you? It took me forever to find the name AA. That's how drunk I was. It's in the beginning of the book. And I called the number, and this lovely older lady answered the phone, and she was so sweet. She was so good at her task. And I got straight down to business and told her, yes, I might drink too much, but so would you if what's happened to me had happened to you. And I'm going to kill myself. And she'd throw in a little nugget, talk me down off the ledge. She was amazing. And then she said, Darren, have you never been to a meeting? I said, no. She said, well, my goodness, there's a meeting tomorrow night, 8 o'clock down the road from you. She made it sound so special. I didn't know there were 200 meetings a week in Santa Barbara. I passed out. I came to the next morning shaking and baking. And I remember I'd nowhere else to go. And I remembered I'd said I'd go to this meeting. And so I showered for the first time in months. I gelled my hair all sexy like I used to be able to. Now, she didn't tell me it was a men's stag, or else I wouldn't have done either of those two things. Now, I can't say I didn't have a drink because at this stage of my alcoholism, I'm physically dependent on vodka. If I have to leave my bedroom, let alone my house, I have to have a cheeky drink in me. You know what I mean? Especially if I'm doing something weird, like interacting with other humans, I have to have a drink in me. So I went sauntering down to this AA meeting, and it was nothing like I'd seen on the TV. It was a bit like this. There was a vast amount of fun about it all. People were having fun. Someone had gotten a promotion at work. I could see all these 80 or 90 men all happy to and I'm just watching it all unfold. And then what happened next really caught my attention. Just underneath, the deadly earnestness kicked in. The secretary got his papers together, sat down, everybody caught the cue, everybody shut up, got in their seats, 2 huge circles, and everybody got off their phones, if you can believe that. And then the meeting started, and I'm watching it all go on, and I'm going, wow, this is crazy. And I thought, well, this is a good time to open my jacket pocket. I pull out a huge bottle of vodka and start drinking in the meeting. And the guy next to me says, holy crap, this guy's drinking vodka in the meeting. I was astounded nobody else was drinking. Like, wait a minute, isn't this Alcoholics Anonymous? Don't you have a drinking problem? I have a really bad drinking problem. I stayed drunk in the rooms of Santa Barbara Alcoholics Anonymous for a year. For a year, I didn't know. It took me 3 months to figure out what you cheeky monkeys were doing. You lot were putting your vodka in a water bottle and then coming to the meeting. You could have told me. Now, I drank from 13 to 33, 20 years of drinking, 13 to 33. And I had a good time for most of that time. Some people don't like to hear that. I had a great time for quite a lot of that until my later 20s. It's almost like, don't worry, mate. I am about to ruin my life and then want to kill myself. We're going to get there. But I had a good time until my mid to later 20s when alcoholism crept in. And it comes in the form of massive amounts of anxiety. And it comes in the form of massive amounts of depression. And it comes in the form of this spiritual illness, this soul sickness that's eating me alive from the inside out. My soul's ever becoming blacker and soon it will be ash. And I don't know what's going on. I became an entrepreneur after I left university. Me and my brother were killing it. I worked there and did that for 8 years. The banker watched with amused skepticism. I whirled some fat checks in and out of his account, but alcoholism was creeping in, and it was killing me the most when I was sober during the day. Going out at night, I was going to have a good time, but during the day sober, anxiety crept in. The voices were creeping in. I didn't know that was alcoholism. I thought just something weird's going on because drinking's still working at nighttime, but it was affecting my job. I couldn't get out of my sports car to go into the bank to present some checks because I'm paralyzed with fear. I couldn't turn up for work. The other directors were so sick of it, they fired me at a directors meeting. And I built this business up from my bedroom. Only an alcoholic can get fired from a business he created. As they got rid of me, I went to give my brother a flying headbutt. You know what I mean? I believe in clear communication. Now, as I left and I had to leave the sports car there, they're going to cut me a crappy check in a couple of months. I went home and I was already going out because it was the weekend. It was a Thursday night. Anybody else's weekend's longer than their week? Now, I desperately wanted to get to the bar ahead of my friends because I have to change the narrative. You can't be talking poorly about Darren. So I got to the bar. It was the worst day of my life. I got to the bar, I had a couple of stiff drinks and woof, the old fierce determination to win came right back. And here comes my mate Simon, and here comes Dave. And I said, did you hear about that today? My brother's a wanker, dude. I told them where to go. I can do anything I put my mind to, and they bought it. And that's all I cared about. And by this time, I've had another couple of pints. 15 of my other friends have come in, and now I've got an audience. Said, yeah, I don't need any of those dudes. You know, when I was a student, I used to love traveling. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go traveling again. In fact, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to become president of America. Hey, apparently anyone can become president of America. So I think the problem is the crappy UK weather. I think the problem is my brother. He's a wanker. I think the problem is my girlfriend. She keeps leaving me for stupid little things like my cheating on her and stuff. But no, Somebody put the problem on a flight at Manchester International Airport and flew him all the way to Los Angeles. And an uncle I'd never met before picked me up and takes me to Santa Barbara, and he owns an English bar in downtown State Street. See, there is a God. I become a drunk bartender for the next 2 years. I'm just starting to circle the drain of life. The anxiety's through the roof. You know, this is Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm going to speak mostly about alcoholism, but I did try cocaine once for 20 years. I love anything that will allow me to drink you under the table. 18 months I'm bartending, hanging on by a thread, hanging on by a thread. And that sense of impending doom, the book says we stood at the turning point. I lived at the turning point. Now I know why we have a sense of impending doom. It's because something bad is going to happen, the way we live our life. And so the day came, Darren, get down here now, and I lose my bartending job. 10 times worse than losing my entrepreneurial position. This time the gig is truly up. Now I'm just living to drink. Now I haven't seen anybody for months and months. You know, I'm not a cute little drunk, by the way. I'm not a functioning alcoholic. I'm a vodka drinking maniac. And a typical day for me is I would come to, and it would be pitch black outside, and I have no idea whether it's night or day. And I'd figure it out. Oh my God, it's 5 a.m., that darkest hour before the dawn. Now, I have strong, horrible, warm vodka under my bed at this stage of my drinking because I'm going to need it at first daylight, but I so desperately don't want to drink because I know what that means. But I can only manage 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes of the mental and hellish torture because I've cracked my mind. I've drunk so much hard alcohol, I've done so many drugs, I've ruined me wiring. And only you will understand that. So after 10 minutes before I have a nervous mental breakdown, I'll reach under the bed and I'm drinking from tall bottles of vodka, and I always have 4 fingers left in the bottom of it because it's like a science project. That is exactly what I'll need to straighten myself out and not have to kill myself. So I will drink that down, and it's not even 6 a.m. and I finish that vodka. Here's the problem. I've just fed the beast, and now the beast needs feeding. And I will have to go and put on my smelly, baggy clothing to go 1 block to Foodland liquor store to steal my 2 big bottles of vodka. And one time I'm going to Foodland and I catch my reflection in a big shop front window, and it's so outrageous, I come back to look at it again. And I go right up to the reflection, and I've got a big ass bushy beard. I'm sunken down, I'm yellowy jaundice, my hair is stuck to my head and all greasy. I look 15 years older than I should have. And I muttered to myself, I said, wow, I'd better not tell anyone about that, and carried on to Foodland. And steal me 2 bottles of vodka and go clinking off home. Now, what you want to do is pound the vodka and pass out. No, I can't do that. It's like a science project. It is immensely important that first bottle gets nursed into the later afternoon, because the second bottle has to desperately get me into the evening. Because what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, maybe even 11 o'clock at night for once to catch a good enough sleep. I could never sleep. I want to catch a good enough sleep to wake up and not have to drink like that ever again. And it says the mind and body are marvelous mechanisms. I drank like that for 2 more years. 2 more years of jails, institutions, and death. You can't scare us with death at this stage of alcoholism. Bring it on. But alcoholism doesn't have the dignity to take us quickly. It can mess with some of us for years, if not decades. My fear is not dying an alcoholic death. My fear is living an alcoholic life, one miserable day at a time. Here's how I got sober. I came to one morning and there was no vodka under my bed. And that had never happened to me before. And I took it as a sign, this is the day I'm going to kill myself. And I was fine with that. No drama. I tried to kill myself 3 months before. 3 months before, the roommates were downtown partying, having excluded me. I'm maudlin drunk at home, And I remembered one of them has an arsenal of weapons. He was a maniac. So I jimmied the bedroom door. I broke into his bedroom. There's shotguns, there's an AK, there's loaded weapons. Now I'm English. I don't quite know what I'm doing with a gun, but I find a loaded revolver and go staggering into the living room, and I sit on the couch. I put the gun in my mouth. It's cold. It's heavy on my teeth. And I'm thinking, wait, do you blow the back of your head off, or do you shoot up through the roof of your mouth? And as I'm thinking it through, the thought came to me, Darren, it's midnight. If you pull the trigger right now, you'll definitely wake the neighbors up. I'm too polite for that shit. You know what I mean? I throw the gun in the bedroom and I finish the job. But today I'm going to do it, and I stay in my bedroom for 2 hours, and I decide to throw myself off Santa Barbara's biggest bridge, Cold Springs Bridge. I drive 25 minutes up the mountain road. I park the car. I walk to the center of the bridge. I'm about to, there's suicide rails on it now, but there weren't back then. As I'm about to go over, I paused because I know it's going to kill my mum. And in that pause, grace came in the form of a man in Alcoholics Anonymous who told me the truth. I used to share sometimes inappropriately and tell everybody I'm going to kill myself. AA doesn't work. Poor me. And he pulls me off to the side and said, Darren, what are you talking about? You can't say, you might well kill yourself. You won't be the first and you won't be the last. But you can't say AA doesn't work. And I got angry because he's telling me the truth. I said, I've been coming here for a year, old man. He said, well, Darren, first of all, you should come sober. It works better. I said, okay. He said, and a drunk like you need to get a sponsor. You need to work the 12 steps and have a psychic change. So I decided on the bridge not to kill my mum. And I get in my car. Now I know enough about my alcoholism that I need to be once again medically detoxed. I need to go back to the lockdown psychiatric unit. They love me in there. Anybody else love the lockdown psychiatric unit? Yes, that's right. You're my people. I drive 20 minutes down and go into Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital emergency room, and I park in my usual spot. I'd been there 4 times that year already, and it was only April. As I'm pulling in, I sideswipe the car next to me. I can't believe it. 2 cops are around the corner. There's a lot of damage on both vehicles. 2 cops at the emergency room walk on over to me. One goes behind me. One comes right up to me and he goes, whoa, have you been drinking? And I'm like, that's a weird first question. No, mate. Have you? They don't like that approach. He said, you reek of alcohol. I said, I've got to go into hospital. There's some health issues going on. He said, you're doing some field sobriety tests. I said, okay. It's about 11 a.m. now. I do 25 minutes of field sobriety tests. Perfect. He's so mad, dude. He's so mad. He looks at his colleague. His colleague was like this. He makes me do 15 more minutes. Then he makes me blow into his breathalyzer, and I blow a 0.32. I haven't even had a drink yet. I am waking up at a 0.32. Then I'm drinking my 2 big bottles of vodka. The tolerance level is just through the roof. These 2 cops literally cannot believe it. And then he comes towards me and gets the handcuffs out. And then I start to panic. You do not want to detox in jail. And so, what are you doing? He said, turn around, you're going to jail. I'm all, listen, man, if you take me to jail right now, I will kill somebody. I said, I'm small, but I am dangerous, dude. Then I start to use the language of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I start to tell the truth. And the beautiful thing is the miracle starts to happen, even if I didn't know it just yet. And I tell him, you've got to let me in the lockdown psychiatric unit, man. They love me in there. They got a file on me and everything. And I'm telling them all this, and they decide not to take me to jail, but they take me to the local police station. That felt so much. I'll be forever grateful for that. And now I'm handcuffed in the back of the squad car. I'm going to the police station. They actually radio ahead to tell their colleagues, hey, we've got this Irishman. And he blew a 0.32. I said, I'm English, you moron. They take me to the police station. They fingerprint me. I'm there for a couple of 3 hours. I swear to God, everybody that works in that facility came down to meet Darren. Sober Darren blew a 0.32. They could not believe it. 3 hours later, somebody comes and picks me up to take me back to the lockdown psychiatric unit. For the 4th time, it's like, so what? I'd literally gotten drunk twice on the way home from there. So what? Here's the difference. If you're new, listen up. The difference is this, that Darren has now finally hit bottom. Now then, hitting bottom for me gets misrepresented in the rooms a lot. Hitting bottom for me has become something very precise, and ask anybody that sponsors people, you'll know it. Hitting bottom is when you ask somebody for help and follow through with all the directions. The rest is just a bunch of BS of your and my war story. Some of my guys went to prison and they're involved in gang warfare, but still drinking Pruno or shooting up. I'm like, that's a bad story, but you haven't hit bottom. You're doing the same old stuff. Some girl told me she sold her body on State Street so she could get high 15 minutes later. I'm like, that's a bad story, but you're doing the same old stuff. I was going to prove that I'd hit bottom. Now, I'm starting to get the DTs at this point again. I'm starting to get anxious, and I can't wait to get to the lockdown psychiatric unit. It sounds a little depressing, but I love me some lockdown because I know a lot of narcotics are going to come my way. And I know the drill for this place. They drop me off. Security guard takes me in a semi-private elevator to the 5th floor. They take me in. They buzz me through the first door. Then you're in no man's land. Then they buzz me through the next door, and you're in. Once again, Darren's in the lockdown unit. And I know what to do. You go up to the little window and you try and get as many drugs as is humanly possible, right? And I go up there and I know her and she knows me. And I said, hello, Mary. How you doing, my love? Did you have a nice Christmas? She's just shaking her head. Mary, I'm going to need my usual cocktail. I would like 18 Valiums, 2 pints of Seroquel, whatever those pink things are up there on the shelf. Give me a few of them. And for once, can I have the penthouse suite? Oh, I'll take my usual room. She's just shaking her head. She gives me as many drugs as she's legally allowed to give me. And I down all the drugs. 10 minutes later, woof, loaded to the gills. Loaded to the gills, ready to start judging people again. You know what I mean? 3 hours ago, I wanted to kill myself. Now I'm Lord of the Nut Ward. Gonna go find myself my next victim. She takes my laces off me. She takes my belt off me so I don't hang myself in this happy place. And back then you go to your room, you get changed into a hospital robe. Now I know exactly what I need to do. Now I'm in the lockdown psychiatric unit. I know exactly what I need to do. I need to go and find myself a little girlfriend in the lockdown psychiatric unit. Don't you lie to me. That's what you do. So where does everybody hang out? They're all in the day room, in the TV room, like One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. So I go wandering down the hallway, loaded to the gills, bang open the door against the wall so everybody looks my way. All the usual suspects. There's a girl over here banging her head against the wall. There's a guy over here dribbling on himself. And then I see her. Oh, she's the love of my life, man. She's on her own, just doing laps around the couch, all on her own. She got this black long hair, but it's in front of her face. She's got unusually long arms, and she's walking around the couch going, "Oh." She looks like that girl out the movie, The Ring or something. I go sliding on in there and grab her by the hand, and we do laps together till we fall madly in love. Then they detox me from the alcohol by giving me all the drugs. Then they detox me from the drugs and they pop me out sober one more time. So what? It was a Wednesday afternoon. I did not take a drink, which is an absolute miracle. I went to a very powerful home group called the Junkyard Dogs. Whoa. 50 of the dogs are down here tonight with me. Only in Alcoholics Anonymous can you make a life decision, a life choice not to have children and still end up with 50 babies. It's a Wednesday afternoon. I didn't drink. I went to my home group and there's 80, 90 men outside this meeting hall, smoking coffee and drinking coffee. Now, Dozens of them were properly armed with the facts about themselves and the illness of alcoholism. I went straight up to the serious dude I saw. He was called Mike. I said, Mike, I just got out today, man. I'm going to drink tonight. You know it. I know it. What do I need to do? And he looked right at me. He said, wow, Darren, are you sober right now? I said, yeah. He'd barely seen me sober that whole year. He said, oh my God. He's all, let's get into action. Normally we do some reading. We might get up to page 60 in the ABCs. He said, let's get into action. Let's do a 3rd step prayer right now. Listen, I don't pray. I definitely don't pray on my knees. I don't believe in God and I hate religion. I said, what do you mean, Mike, in front of these 80 men? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. I said, okay, because the no had been beaten out of me. Darren wasn't too cool for school anymore. Darren was about to conform to the process. We did a 3rd step prayer right there in front of everybody. We went into that meeting. It was a great meeting. Somebody had a grand mal seizure in that meeting. Have you ever seen one of those? They're disgusting. This guy took 2 minutes to seize and lock up and stop breathing and go bright red and fall off the chair. It's horrible. I've had many grand mal seizures. I just never seen one. You know what I mean? We called the paramedics. We pushed him out the door so we could carry on with the meeting. That was a great meeting. I went home from that meeting and I wrote 100 names on my resentment inventory. 100. I passed out. I came to the next morning at 5 a.m., shaking and baking. I wrote 100 more names on my resentment inventory. It wasn't even 6 a.m. and I was going to drink. I called this man. He answered the phone. He gave me my next column and he saved my life. I can never repay this man. I called him 12 times that day to finish all 3 inventories. I went to his house the next day and we did my 5th step. Took us 3.5 hours. As he's sending me home for my hour of review, he gave me a big hug, said, Darren, this is amazing. This has never happened to me before. I said, I hope you feel good, Mike. I feel like crap, dude. He's all, don't worry, man. Trust in the process. And we did. And the next day I went to his house and we did steps 6 and 7. 6 and 7. I didn't understand step 6 and 7. Nobody understands step 6 and 7. Don't worry about it. I had a lot of willingness. I had a lot of humility and I was desperate to move on. The next day we did my 8th step. My 8th step was easy. I already had my list. I just had to annoyingly transfer that list to a new list. And then I added to my list. On my 5th and 6th day of sobriety, I went out around Santa Barbara and I made 21 amends. 21 amends, and I was lit up like a Christmas tree. I was rocketed into a 4th dimension. I went into all the bars, all the restaurants, all the women I'd so shockingly treated. My little English heart filled up so much I thought it was going to burst. And everything made sense. Everything made sense. Oh my God, this is why John and Tom B, they're all doing the deal. Why Katya sponsors all these women. Why you're all being of service. Why you're sponsoring. You're doing all this. It must give you this full heart moment. And it made sense. And then I had an epiphany. I'm like, my God, wait a minute. This is what you're calling God. And I understood because I saw, I felt, I believed. I felt so good. I got up the next day and I went to Foodland liquor store. And I asked to speak to the manager. I said, sir, I live less than 1 block away and I've been a really bad drunk for a really long time. And I have to tell you, I've been stealing vodka from your store for well over a year. I will never steal from you or from anyone else ever again. I'm living my life a different way. I said, it's Friday. I just started work 2 days ago for the first time in years. I said, there's $25, sir. I owe you $2,750. I'll be back every Friday with $25 until I've paid that whole amount off and any interest you determine. I said, is there anything else I can do to make this right? And he looked at me and he said, wow. And I looked back at him and I said, Wow. And I floated off to make some more financial amends. I couldn't believe how good it felt to give you your money back. I said to my sponsor, what's next? And he went, oh my God, Darren, this is amazing. He said 10 and 11. I said, 10 and 11, what's that? He said, yeah, man, I'll show you step 10, what to do right here, right now, to postpone the punishment of. Then I'll show you step 11. I'll show you what to do in the morning, what to do at night. 2 minutes of meditation. You're already praying your little English ass off. 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night to review your day. He already knew that I was a recovered alcoholic, even if I didn't. And thank God he gave me the full strength solution, including meditation. Thank God he gave me what I now call the full strength sobriety, the guaranteed version of sobriety. I can't leave anything out. I'm the worst drunk I've ever met. You can't leave a fifth step out because you have ADHD, can you? No. You can't leave out a 9 step because you don't have the time to do it, can you? No. So I can't leave meditation out. And I hate meditation and I suck at meditation. But he started me off on a 2-minute routine. A 2-minute routine. And it's taken me 20 years to go from 2 minutes meditation to 10 minutes meditation. 20 years. But God loves him a little trier. God loves him a little trier. Let me tell you how cool my God is. My God is up there laughing his ass off at me down there in the mornings doing my crappy prayer meditation. He is laughing his head off, chuckling with his beard going, look at that little wanker down there. Look at that little wanker doing his crappy prayer meditation. But then he sees me trying and he goes, oh, you know what? You know what? Give that young man another day of sobriety. That's what my God's like. How cool is that? Steps 10 and 11, man. They're like the keys to the kingdom. Step 10 and 11 are so simple, you won't do it. What is wrong with us? Only an alcoholic will burn his life to the ground to then come running to a 12-step program just to resist the 12 steps. What is wrong with us? But I am in, dude. I am sold on the plan outlined in this book. And some of us are sicker than others. I'm not as sick as some as you in here, but some of us are sicker than others. I have to work a hell of a program just to feel kind of okay with the world. So that's okay by me. I can't go to one speaker meeting a week. I have to go to many meetings. I have to sponsor. I have to be in the trenches. I have to do all of it, all the time, just to feel like another worker amongst workers, just to be another bozo on the bus. I sponsor so many men in Santa Barbara. I do so much AA. I should be the Dalai Bloody Lama or something. But no, I do all that just to get a full heart every now and then. And that's the payoff, the full heart, or we've entered the world of the spirit. And I'll finish with this story about we've entered the world of the spirit. I was speaking 8-9 years ago at an Akipor convention in San Jose, in the Bay Area. 3,000 of these young maniacs have taken over this Hilton complex. Many of them were hospitalized because they've overdosed on Red Bull. But don't worry, they put them on a monster drip and they were just fine. Now, I'm the closeout Sunday speaker, so a lot of these little monsters didn't make it, as several hundred of them turn up at the Sunday closeout speaker meeting. That made my resentment inventory. And I'm sat on the stage. There's a few hundred all watching us. There's a girl next to me I've never met before, and she's going to give a talk before I give a talk. She's from LA. I'm from Santa Barbara, 6 hours away, and we're in the Bay Area. Now, everybody's looking at us, and I see her, and I glance to the side, and she's texting on her phone. And I think that's super rude. It's super rude, but it's none of my business. So I get involved right away. What are you doing? What's going on over here? Now, she's having a problem. Her sponsor's texting her from LA. Her sponsor got sober 21 years previously in Los Angeles. And she and this guy were in a co-ed sobriety house, 21 other people. 2 of them are staying sober 30 days, 60 days. Now, the rest of them, it's the usual story. Most of them are going out. Some of them went to jail. 2 of them died. Some went to prison. But even this guy stayed sober for 90 days. This guy met somebody, moved to Maui, Hawaii, stayed sober 21 years, raised 2 kids. 2 kids. He got 2 boys, a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. They're on mainland America going to school, and they are both dying of untreated alcoholism. The only number he can think of is hers, so he's texting her. She texts a couple of her sponsees. One of them sat next to me, and she said, well, can I give him your number? I need a male number. I said, yeah, no problem. We change numbers. We give our talks. Everything goes great. I get in the car. We're about to fly down the freeway, go back to Santa Barbara. Now, I take all my tough guys with me sometimes when I speak out of town. You got to take your tough guys with you. You know, the sleeved up guys, the tattoos. You got to take your tough guys. But you never know what's going to happen. You might run into some of them any wankers. You know what I mean? So we're flying down the freeway. I make this call to this man. He answers the phone. I said, it's on speakerphone. My name's Darren. I'm leaving from a conference. And there's nothing at the other end. There's nobody. And it's really uncomfortable for 30 seconds. Then we realize he's crying. He's crying and he cannot catch his breath. And it's such a moment of humility. And I want to desperately cry too, but I can't because I'm with my tough guys. You know what I mean? But I look over here to the guy with tattoos on his neck and I'm like, wait a minute, are you crying? He's crying. Then I look in the rearview mirror in the back and I'm like, oh my God, he's crying as well. You got tattoos on your face, for God's sake. We're all crying. And finally he gathers himself. He says, Darren, I've been sober a long time and I've never asked God for anything for myself, but my prayer has always been, if my 2 boys need the hand of AA, please let it be there. I said, dude, I'm in. I'm all in. I'll do whatever I can. I know many people in many states, and if I don't, I'll find somebody that does. What's going on? Where are they going to school? He said, they both attend Santa Barbara City College. I said, I work at Santa Barbara City College. We have entered the world of the spirit. I go back to Santa Barbara. I meet both of those 2 boys separately. One becomes a proud member of the Junkyard Dogs. He's now living in LA. He's sober 7 or 8 years, 9 years. The other one, dying of untreated alcoholism. Isn't that summing up the yin and the yang of Alcoholics Anonymous? So one of you guys is killing it over here and getting married. Another one's getting divorced or someone's relapsed. If you're new or you're struggling with God, I'll leave you with this. Religion might be for those people that are trying to avoid going to hell. But spirituality is for people that have been to hell. Thank you all very much.